This week, I've had some interesting conversations with clients about when is the right time to create systems, finding the time to create systems, and procrastinating about creating systems, and what that means to us as business owners, and what we can do actually to create the time, make a priority, and actually understand the benefits of doing that, but also the potential costs of not doing that.
So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us, who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success.
Okay, so this episode really spins off a couple of conversations I've had with clients this week, in both in one-to-one coaching, but also in some of our group coaching sessions as well. And I've got clients who just hit the ground running with their systems creation when they come on board with this. And within a few weeks, they're delegating work. They've had an assistant. They've mapped stuff out. They've recorded their tasks. They've got stuff documented, and they're absolutely flying with it. And they get, within weeks of joining, they've got massive benefit and return on their investment. They're starting to free their time, and it snowballs from there. And those are the dream clients. And I wish everybody was like that. And I wish everybody had that sort of journey, and they get this huge, almost immediate impact from the work we do with them. But unfortunately, and just being very honest, that doesn't always happen. And we do have clients that don't progress as quickly as they would love to, and we would love them to as well. And some of the reasons behind that were the subject of our conversations this week. And just to bring some of those to light, often the complaint is, or the excuse, or the reason, or whatever you want to call it, is that they're too busy. They've got either taken on too much work, they've got other projects, something has happened in their business that needs their full-time attention. They've just spinning too many plates. They just can't really, they're putting out fires is often something that people say. And whatever the reason, and there is always reasons, and we can always find reasons for not doing something. But in my opinion, it really boils down to one thing, and that is prioritization. And it's, do I truly believe that by doing this work now, it will actually give me the result I want? And if you are focusing, entirely at the moment in your business on sales, it's like, do you believe that doing the focusing on sales will give you the revenue you need to do X, Y, Z? And I would argue you probably do, because that's why you're doing it. And the systems aspect is more difficult, I think, to sell to yourself in the short term. It doesn't have an easy monetary figure that you can say, if I do X number of this, making phone calls, going to networking meetings, sending emails, as a sales process, then I'm going to get this number of leads, and those will convert to this number of sales, and I'll see that money in my bank. And so that's easier, I think, for us to convince ourselves of the necessity to do that right here and now. Whereas the systems is a more longer game to play. But it's also, in my opinion, the game that gives you the ultimate result which people want. And that is time freedom and financial freedom. Because if you're financially free but you have no time, then you're just putting money in the bank and you can't spend it. Maybe you've got a holiday 2 weeks a year or 4 weeks a year, whatever, and that's great. But what most people want that I speak to is they want the freedom to do what they want, when they want, and often where they want. And that only comes from having a business which day to day doesn't need your involvement. It may still need you, and you may still be a huge part of that. But if the cogs sort of stop turning the minute you turn your back, then that isn't really a business that you can then walk away from, go and do some fun stuff, and you're then sort of trapped by in a prison of your own making, so to speak. So when it was been speaking this week with our clients, and these are the same sort of reasons that came up with them. They're just really busy, and they genuinely are. They're working their pants off, trying to get stuff done in their business. And one of the things that we discussed was about the power of saying no. And there's books written on this stuff about the power of actually saying not now, or actually no. And often you don't have to say no in business. You can say just not now. And it's something that historically really, really bad at. I'm really bad at sort of not chasing shiny pennies, or saying, "Oh, that looks like a great idea," or signing up for this course, or saying yes to taking on another client, or whatever it is. And there's all very good reasons why I should do all those things as a business owner. But there's also very, very good reasons, I believe, why we should be saying no to the vast majority of the extras in business that aren't actually necessities while we put those systems in place. Because when we have a systemized business, we then have the freedom to do as much of the other stuff as we want. So it's sort of that go slow to go fast philosophy, that if you build your business to a point where it's profitable, or you've got money in the bank, or it's got good revenue, so you can afford just to take your foot off the gas for a few months while you sit down, reflect on the business, the structure, the operations, how this is actually going to function, how you can remove yourself from as much of that as possible and fill those seats and with people, but also with systems, to allow you to have the freedom to do all the rest of the stuff. If you can do that, and as I say, take the foot off the gas just long enough to get that stuff done, then when you put the pedal back down, you don't get totally overwhelmed. You don't end up being the person fighting fires and just trying to deal with all the chaos that goes on. And when people leave, which inevitably will, you're not left completely high and dry or completely overwhelmed by all that work for falling back on you, because you've got a systemized process that allows you to quickly replace that person or move an existing staff member into that role to help in the interim while you do find somebody else. And so I think that the key sort of lesson or take home that I was trying to convey to the clients that we spoke to this week was, it's really about prioritization, as I mentioned before. It's about convincing yourself that actually going a little bit slow, creating the systems, will ultimately give you far higher return than just getting the next deal in right now. Because once that's in place, as I said, you can then get many, many, many more deals in without the overwhelm coming in. And then you can scale your business to whatever size, or just enjoy the freedom that you've managed to create for yourself, which actually a lot of our clients do, including myself. Is, I had ambitions to grow the business really quickly and X, Y, and Z. And as I reflected in a recent episode, I've really probably after having my second kid, I really appreciate the value of time and being able to. So since beginning of the year, I've been picking up both my sons from school every single day. So I've been finishing my day at 2:45. It was a little bit before that, but now it was 2:45. Now it's 3:15, and that is just golden. Like being able to actually do that, hang out with my boys, and just basically play with them in the afternoons, and not be stressed about that. I used to try and do it, when my wife couldn't look after them, whatever. But literally, I'd be sat there and I would be thinking about all the stuff that I wasn't doing in work, and my mind really wouldn't be in the moment at all. And it's only through prioritizing or realizing that the priority of or the value of that time that I've created, and being so thankful for it, that has allowed me to do that. And I'm only able to do that, to go back to the point of this episode, because I've got systems in place, which means I'm not doing the admin, the day-to-day. I'm not onboarding clients. I'm not dealing with general client inquiries. I'm not doing any social media posting. I'm not responding to stuff. I'm not getting involved with stuff that happens. I've got people and systems in place to allow all that stuff to function, so that when I do cut my day early and finish and look after my kids, it's fine. I'm okay with that. And again, it's about adjusting my goals in my business. But that could be said also exactly for the reasons that most people procrastinate about starting the systemization, because they believe they need to hit their target that they've arbitrarily created for themselves, typically monetary targets. I want to hit this revenue figure this year. I want to grow to this size. I want to get this number of clients. But that's often just a case of keeping up with the Joneses, if you like. So, great book I read recently called Gap and Gain. I got the title slightly wrong, and unfortunately I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but Gap and Gain. And it's all about actually, not all about, part of this is about realizing that we judge ourselves continually against other people. Whereas if we internalize the metrics by which we grade or judge ourselves, then we can never be failures. So if we are, or we can never be failures in other people's eyes anyway, because we are living up to our own expectations. So if my goal was to create more time, then my monetary goal isn't so important. That if I create the time, I'm a winner, even on the outside if my business isn't so big. I'm not explaining it particularly well, if I'm honest. Read the book, it's absolutely fantastic. But the point of it is I'm trying to make that we often create goals for ourselves, and I'm guilty of doing this. And time until this year, I've always done this. I create a monetary goal for myself and my business. It's like I want to get to this revenue. If I don't hit that revenue, I feel like I've not hit my targets. I feel guilty or whatever. I'm seeing the gap. Or even if I do hit that revenue, then I'm thinking, well, potentially I could have got more. And I'm also creating a new gap for myself. Whereas if I actually say, you know what, for me, what's most important is X, and I keep that private, whether you do it in the company, obviously, but like, and I focus on what that most important thing is for you, rather than getting dragged up saying, oh, company X is doing this, or these people on social media doing that, or whatever. And just like, be honest with yourself. Like, what is the most important thing to you? And if it is anything around time or sustainability, or, being able to actually have a lifestyle as well as a business, then actually maybe you need to think about prioritizing your systems creation right now, even if it means slowing things down for a little bit, so that going forward and forevermore, you be able to create a business that serves you both in terms of financials and security, but also in time freedom and potentially location freedom as well. That's it for today. I hope you found that episode interesting. I would love to hear your feedback as always. Please do give us a comment if you listen to this on social media. If you're listening to a podcast app, please do rate this, and again, leave us a review. And please do share these episodes with your friends and colleagues. If you found this interesting, useful, and you share this with somebody else, and they find it interesting, useful, they will only thank you for it. And I will thank you in return. Thank you so much indeed. Have a great day.